lose yourself
Jim.
in the magic, the moment you own it, you never let it go. Don't
Five,
miss this
4,
opportunity.
3, 2, 1.
This
Ladies and
opportunity
gentlemen,
comes once in a lifetime.
you know who that is. You better know who that is. If you're watching me, then you know who that is. That's Jim
That
Lampley.
was Eminem, right? That was me doing Eminem.
You keep singing. That's what this is going to be. Go. Keep going.
You know, I did one time, in a karaoke bar, I did Eminem's Lose Yourself. And I learned from that one experience how physically exhausting that form of music can be. It was one thing to sing rhythm and blues songs or rock and roll songs in a karaoke bar, but to try to do that kind of music, I wound up all but falling off the stage in exhaustion.
Where were the camera phones when we needed them? Because we want that footage. You don't want that footage out, but I want that footage out. Ladies and gentlemen, Jim Lampley. I'm going to take it back from him and then throw it right back to him because I want an update on what you're up to. I know what you're up to on September 30th, but I want you to tell the people, please, Mr. Lampley.
Well, I've been away from boxing for too long a period of time. I haven't been ringside at a boxing match or in the press room before a boxing match or around the hotel before a boxing match since December 8, 2018, when the last HBO telecast took place and Max and Roy and I said goodbye from ringside at StubHub Center. If you had asked me at that moment, do you expect that you'll show up doing some form of boxing commentary somewhere else within the not too distant future, I would have said yes. I would have thought that that was going to happen. I did sign a deal to do one fight, and that was with an outfit named Triller, and the fight came down because one of the fighters caught COVID. Eventually, Triller asked me to do something else, which was a Evander Holyfield versus an MMA fighter in Miami. I have never done that kind of event, and I didn't want to do that kind of hybrid event. I'm a boxing person. I'm not an MMA person. So I did not choose to accept that.
You're not a carnival person, Jim?
Huh?
You're not a carnival person, Jim? You don't have a bit of the Colonel Tom Parker in you, Jim?
I did go to the county fair in Hendersonville, North Carolina when I was a child, and I saw some real top-notch carnival acts there, but haven't been back in a long time. So no, I didn't go to Miami for, I think it was Evander Holyfield versus Belfort. Yeah, didn't do that. And then since that time, nobody else has really reached out to reel me back into do commentary of any kind on television. I've been teaching a course that I created for seniors and graduate students in the communications department here at my alma mater, the University of North Carolina. I have a fantastic life back in Chapel Hill. My wife and I are very well connected to the faculty and social life here in Chapel Hill. So I have watched boxing matches. I've paid attention to the same things that you're paying attention to, maybe not as voluminously because I only see the few matches that I pick out here and there that I'm going to watch, but every once in a while I'm locked in and I really feel the same emotional connection to the sport. That was certainly the case when Terence Crawford fought Errol Spence a few weeks ago, because as you know, I covered the early stages of Crawford's ascent to stardom. So then it wasn't too long after that the people at PPV.com reached out and said, are you interested in doing chat? And are you interested in sharing chat commentary with your good friend Lance Pugmire at ringside September 30 for Canelo versus Charlo?
You will be ringside present there?
Well, I guess. I mean, the people at PPV.com know better than I do where it is that Lance and I are located during the fight. But I'll be in the arena.
Because people who know about this are asking me, Woodsy, is Lampley calling the fight or what is he doing? No, we'll be doing chat. It will be text only, but you also will be doing some material during fight week as well. Is that correct?
Oh, yeah. I mean, PPV.com has asked me to come in Tuesday night, and I'm very happy with that because that means Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, I'll be strolling the halls of the MGM Grand. I'll be going to the press room at the MGM Grand. I'll be meeting up with people whom they arrange for me to meet with, just as they helped arrange for me to be talking to you today. And I'll be a part of the surrounding conversation building up to the fight. And then I'll do what amounts to editorial commentary as the fight is taking place via the mechanism of chat. That's a whole new form of communication that didn't used to exist back in the day when I was calling fights. And I'm very excited about the opportunity to do that kind of thing. It's a role that is more like what Max Kellerman and before him Larry Merchant did during my commentary years on ABC, because it's not a continuous flow like blow by blow, but it is editorial comments and overall perspective on what's taking place in the ring. And we'll find out if I still have anything meaningful to say.
You've already proven it, sir, right here, right now. Of course you do. You're an erudite individual. You're a wordsmith. I've said this to you before. I'm not blowing smoke just to kiss your ass. You know, I'll say that on the record, off the record. I've always enjoyed your work. I've loved your work. You're a Hall of Famer, entered into International Boxing Hall of Fame in 2015. I've missed you. I've missed you because no slam against all the other fellas and ladies and whoever doing it, but it ain't the same. Now, I know I sound like an old fogey talking about the days of yore that I miss. Well, that I do. I miss it. The ensuing years, 2018 to now, writ large, boxing as a whole, how has it changed? What is it now? And then, please, into the fight, Canelo against Jermell. What are we going to see? So first, writ large, last 5 years, where's boxing at now to you?
So I think the thing that people began missing pretty intensely in 2018 and 2019 and 2020, the early years of this, and now have gradually begun to get used to as they go along, is that the nature of the showcase has shrunk to maximize the economic impact of the individual. In other words, fights way back in the day during the Gillette Friday Night Fights era, then fights had the biggest audience they could possibly achieve on free over-the-air television. And then ultimately free over-the-air television gave way to the premium pay cable television era. And the premium pay cable television era was a way of concentrating transmission to a smaller audience, but asking the smaller audience to pay part of the freight for the fight. Exactly right.
This is the story of life right now.
It was a
pay
different
that freight.
way.
Pay it.
It was a different way of targeting the economics of the fight. And it took people a long time to adjust to, oh my God, now I have to buy HBO and or Showtime to get these fights that I used to see on ABC's Wide World of Sports or on the Gillette Friday Night Fights. And older viewers obviously had a harder time adjusting to that change, but eventually they did. And
I'm going to say, Jim, I'm going to say still do at times have a hard time. And what you say there about asking people to pay now, you know how many outlets and platforms and everything I pay for now? Too freaking many. So that's a little segue here and a little ass kiss to my friends at payperview.com. I like it because you can just hop in and buy a payperview.com event and I don't have to subscribe. So that means no offense to anyone. I don't like to shit on people for business practices and such because I might want to work for them one day. But to get a $220 DAZN bill for an annual fee to watch is a little bit of a, okay? That is my reality. So,
well, you know, I mean, look, I try to explain this to general sports people all the time. And I'm still trying to get the point across to a lot of general sports people, you know, and they're like, you know, why can't I see boxing the way I see the NBA or Major League Baseball or professional football? And I try to explain to them that the NBA and the professional football and Major League Baseball, all of those sports are built on distribution models of abundance and regularity. I know when the Yankees are going to play the Red Sox. I know how many times the Yankees are going to play the Red Sox during the season, and so on and so forth with regard to the Celtics and the 76ers and, the Colts and the 49ers, etc. All of those things are built on abundance and regularity. When premium pay cable television came along with pay-per-view television, along with other similar transmission systems, those are about scarcity and irregularity. And scarcity and irregularity drive the price of the commodity up. So why did people have to pay to hear my commentary and see my fights on HBO? Because they're scarce. They are not regularly and abundantly scheduled like pro football games or baseball games. It's a different sport, and it's entrepreneurial, and it takes place on its own schedule. And that's why the price goes up for the consumer. Eventually people kind of kinetically adjust to that. All right, I've gotten used to it, whether I understand it or not. Or in some cases, they even gather enough of an understanding to hear what Lampley's saying when he says this stuff about scarcity and irregularity versus abundance and regularity. That's a continuing part of the sports world, and we're going to see more and more of it as we go along. The professional sports leagues are now experimenting with ways of telescoping the audience and creating smaller subsets of the audience to maximize the financial impact, because they've seen the way we do it in the boxing world. And there have been a lot of things.
This is an homage to the boxing world. Do you think there is a degree of, let me copy these guys? Because I don't know that we get copied very much.
Well,
we get shit on, we get busted on, but
good or bad is in the eye of the beholder. But any sports entrepreneur or marketer who tells you that he did not pay attention to what happened with Mayweather-Pacquiao is lying. Mayweather-Pacquiao was a watershed event. Mayweather-Pacquiao was the object demonstration of what this whole interaction among social media and
money was made.
Can drive the money higher and higher and higher. And oh, by the way, Floyd Mayweather was the first great social media genius. He was the first person to recognize that with his social media accounts, he could be difficult, obstreperous, he could offend people, he could challenge the audience, whether to like him or not, and it would make him bigger and more popular. And I think there are a lot of other people in other walks of life, particularly politics, who saw that and realized they could do the same kind of thing with social media.
Okay, this is big to me. Because we're getting I believe a lot of credit is being due to our friend Floyd Mayweather. It's interesting. I'm seeing him now. I'm wondering if I'm seeing a work in progress. He's working with Ryan Garcia. I don't know if it's a diminishment of his ego or what have you, responding to the new reality, but it looks like he might be sort of, I don't want to say maturing. I don't want to be patronizing, but I also saw something. He gave a lot of money to Maui and such. So I feel like there's some growth there. Or Floyd, looking at him in the last 5 years and what he's doing now, what's your take? Because we know a lot of people are like, oh, Lampley, HBO, all them guys, they hate Mayweather, right? So we could clear it up a little bit. Your honest take on Floyd in like the last 5 years and where he is now. And then we're going to get to Canelo and Charlo, Jermell on ppv.com.
What was it, King, about? What was King's great statement about the money that, everybody follows? It was some kind of a bird or something like that. I forget the image that King used, but
was it a magpie?
The model that King developed and created, Floyd paid a lot of attention. Okay. And again, Floyd was and is a social media genius. And I say to people sometimes, George Foreman's a genius. Yes. I say, George Foreman's a genius? Why would you say that? Look at the bank account. Yes. Has anybody in history made more money off of an engaging smile than George Foreman? No. He recognized what he could do with one.
HBO had
talent.
Some geniuses there. I'm sorry, I'm going to maybe make you uncomfortable, but I'm going to include you in that list. I'm going to include your friend Larry Merchant too. I'm going to include George Foreman, just like you, because becoming a little bit friendly with George over the years, it still constantly amazes me. His takes are frequently so different than what I would expect. Now, sometimes with boxing, people are like, what the hell are you talking about? And it went over and through and under their heads. But he is a different animal up there. Larry is too, you are too. And the bottom line with all three, to me, I believe, is, in varying degrees, intelligence.
Oh, yeah.
Intelligence.
I mean,
this is not the age.
With regard to Floyd, I mean, not regard, excuse me, with regard to Big George, what you said multiplied by 10. Okay. I mean, it took me years of working shoulder to shoulder with George to realize how incredibly smart that man is.
Correct.
And he
Love
helped me a lot.
Thank you.
By helping me to see things through his perspective. And again, look at the bank account. you don't.
This is boxing, so it's the boxing business. So look at the bank account.
And by the way, he recognized the promotional value of being on HBO. He recognized that HBO, in its relation to boxing during that particular time, was a unique medium. Had a different way of achieving its audience objectives than other media. Showtime, same thing, but forgive me, Showtime, please don't hate me. HBO was more prestigious. I
think they're gonna hate you because there's a good rivalry. They're still going. HBO shut down the boxing program. Wish they didn't, but this is the world that we are in now. We must live in it, even if we don't like it. I'm going to move quickly because I have 7 minutes left because I don't know how to elongate the time, and I started late. So I'm going to go at you quick, please. Canelo versus Jermell Charlo. What is likely to happen on September 30th? I will be watching on ppv.com.
Well, first of all, this will be the first time I've covered Jermell Charlo. I don't know him or his brother. They were not HBO figures. I don't know his camp, etc. So this will be my first introduction to them and their culture. Obviously, there's a huge gap between that and what I know about Canelo, because I covered many of Canelo's developmental experiences. And of course, I called the first two of his fights with Triple G, which are, I think, still the biggest, most important pivotal exposures in his career. I think on the surface, you would look at it and say, Canelo has been to 168 and he's been above 168, and he beat an outstanding light heavyweight when he beat Sergey Kovalev at 175. He's proven that he can handle this weight. Charlo is an unknown commodity at this weight. So you have to go in making the Canelo the expected favorite just on the basis of the fact that he has proven himself to be a 168-pound fighter, and Charlo's going up. On the other hand, a lot of boxing is psychological, as you well know, Michael. And part of the psychology is, at what point have you made enough money that when you go into the gym for that 2.5 or 3 hour workout in the afternoon, you're 1% less than you used to be. You're relaxing at certain moments instead of pressing it to the limit. And one thing I've always said about fighters, I learned it over a period of time. If you're 1% less in the gym every day of the 8 weeks, 10 weeks, whatever it is, on the way to the ring, then you might be 10% less by the time you get to the ring. It is a cumulative experience. So,
like life, Jim, right? Absolutely. That 1% every day adds up.
Exactly. The cumulative buildup of it. So Charlo is the hungrier fighter. Charlo is the one who's looking for a giant win that will dramatically elevate his exposure. Canelo has beaten people like this in similar circumstances several times. And so I'm not saying it's happening. I'm not saying we're at that point yet. I'll be there in the week of the fight to observe more closely and carefully. But until I see Canelo face to face, until I have a conversation with him and the people around him, I don't have any sense of where is his motivation, desire, and dedication now compared to where it was before the Golovkin fight, when he was seeking to prove that he was the best pound-for-pound fighter in boxing. How could he, having done what he did against Kovalev, how could he have made what I regarded as the matchmaking mistake of choosing to take on Dimitri Bivol? What was it that caused him to agree to the idea that fighting Bivol was a good idea when he should have recognized that Bivol was a far different specimen than what Kovalev was at the time when Canelo beat him, and that this was going to be a really difficult challenge for him?
May I ask and interject to ask a question, because I want to give him some credit, because I feel like I fell prey to the same thing. Watching plenty of those Bivol fights on your network, guys that he didn't pull away from, some of them not superstars, very studious, technically, very proficient, but there was something missing in many of those fights. To me, didn't excite me. Like he's a technocrat, makes the trains run on time. But beyond that, so I feel like I missed it too. And let's face it, Jim, a lot of people did. A lot of people did. That hindsight being 2020, well, that applies for this sport, and us know it. I'm speaking for myself. Us know-it-alls a lot of the time. We got about 2 more minutes left, and I'm going to probably try to ask if I can get another session with you in the next day or two, because this is too much fun. Want to ask you about someone that you know very much about and getting his flowers now, Terence Crawford. What about that? And where does he go? You're going to see him at 168? I mean, he is on top of the world now.
Well, I hate to blow my own horn, but
please.
I knew, and I told Tom Hauser before the Crawford-Spence fight that I thought Spence might need to be rescued in the late rounds. And I made that prediction because Terence has a very specific kind of fighter DNA. There aren't many fighters who are as capable of accessing an inner fire, an edge of anger, if you will, in the late rounds and bringing it to bear in a prize fight the way Terence Crawford can. And he showed it that night, not to mention his skill level. He's a tremendously skilled counterpuncher who can achieve balance and timing relative to launching the counterpunch that gives him a chance not just to launch an accurate counterpunch, but to launch it with power and to hurt the opponent. And he hurt Spence almost every time he hurt Spence. He hurt him with a counterpunch and caught him with a level of power that I doubt Spence thought he was going to be facing in that boxing match. So Crawford is a special kind of fighter. Crawford is his own boss in the ring and out. Crawford is not yet at a point where there's somebody out there whom I would pick to beat him. I think he's unbeatable at 147 pounds. I think he may move up and prove unbeatable at 154. I just haven't seen anybody yet that I think is ready to beat Terence Crawford. And I had a strong sense before that fight that Spence wasn't going to be the guy.
I just got a note from Zoom.com. 9 minutes, 41 seconds left, or can do more time if I upgrade. I'm going to upgrade next time because you have a certain amount of time allotted to it, but it leaves me room for 1 or 2 more questions if you got the time. Crawford, how high can he go? Because I'm believing in him, and whatever he says he's going to do or thinks he can do, I'm going to believe it. What's his ceiling, and what are some really tasty fights that you would like to see Terence Crawford do?
Well, off of what he did to Spence, I think the dominance he's shown at 147 pounds, it's irresistible. It's what fighters do. He's going to look for a logical fight at 154 pounds. He's going to go up 7 more pounds on the weight scale. It's what fighters do. He's won all 4 belts in the welterweight division. What more worlds does he have to conquer there? So I think he'll try to find the right 154-pound fight to begin proving his identity there. Let's just speculate for a second that Jermell Charlo somehow pulls the upset and defeats Canelo Alvarez at 168. Couldn't you see somewhere down the road a middleweight fight, a fight at 160 pounds between Terence Crawford and Jermell Charlo? I can certainly see that happening.
Terence Crawford has stated that he wants to be Texas wrecker. Texas boxing. Take them all down. Take down all Derek James's people. Yeah, there is a large appetite, I believe, for that among hardcores, and it would go to casuals too.
You know boxing history. Terence Crawford knows boxing history. Does he want to be the Sugar Ray Robinson of his generation?
He does.
You bet he does.
Damn
he thinks he's already the Tommy Hearns or the Ray Leonard of his generation. The
Is he there? Is he there?
Oh, I think he is.
Oh,
You know,
okay.
and you know, because of the delivery system and the media system, he doesn't get as much attention as Leonard and Hearns did. They were on ABC's Wide World of Sports. They were being promoted by a general television network.
Daily newspapers. I sound like Bob Arum. Daily newspapers. They're almost all gone. Oh, 100%. I miss them. And it ain't the same.
100%. The media system is not what it was back in those days. When I first bought a ticket to a live prize fight, saving up lawn mowing and car washing money in Miami for months to buy a ticket to Cassius Clay versus Sonny Liston, or more technically, because it's champion first, Sonny Liston versus Cassius Clay, Miami Beach, February 25, 1964. That was something that I read about in the Miami Herald and the Miami News every day for months. Columnists, Edwin Pope, John Crittenden, then banner headline, legendary type columnists, they wrote about that fight over and over and over until it was a national obsession. We don't have that kind of command of media anymore. We are more targeted. We are more streamlined. We're in a narrower path because people can make more money this way.
Summing it up perfectly. End on that line. End on the money. And now I got you a couple more minutes. So you know what they like to do. They like to get the smart person talking about what is maybe going to happen. What are the big fights coming up that you are looking forward to beyond your own September 30th, Canelo versus?
Well, I mean, obviously, I'm getting ready to focus and pay a lot of attention to Canelo versus Charlo. So I want to see what the winner of Canelo Charlo is going to do. I want to see, now that Terence Crawford appears in the eyes of most to have vaulted past now into the #1 spot in pound for pound rankings. What's Inuya going to do? What choice does he make? Does he choose to go up to 126 and fight in a higher profile division, the featherweight division, where he might find more name opponents than he's found at 118 and 122? So I want to see that pound for pound tussle play out between Crawford and Inuya. I want to see what Errol Spence is going to do to bounce back from his loss to Crawford and see whether he actually targets and seeks a Crawford rematch, which I think some people would say is a bad idea, but maybe motivation can carry him to a higher level of performance. And obviously, I'm like anybody. I want to see Tyson Fury in meaningful fights. A long time ago, the closest male friend of my adult lifetime, Emmanuel Stewart, told me Tyson Fury will undoubtedly be the undisputed heavyweight champion of the world. At a moment when I said, Emmanuel, what are you talking about?
He about 2013? That was about 2013 or 2012?
About that time. That's exactly right. At a dinner in Las Vegas, when he said to me, I said to him, I've heard that you've worked in the gym with Tyson Fury. Why are you interested in him? And Emmanuel said, Jimbo, I'm interested in him because he's unquestionably going to be the heavyweight champion of the world, and he might turn out to be an unbeatable and unbeaten heavyweight champion of the world.
You're like, wow.
Look at him now. Yeah. Look at him now. And one interesting question that I pose to people like you, boxing experts, looking at Fury's dimensions, looking at his counterpunching skills, look at the power that he can put on a counterpunch. Who in the history of the sport would you pick to beat him? I mean, seriously. There's nobody else who's ever been that.
In the history of the sport. Shoot, man, that's another topic for another day. We're getting into all-time pound-for-pound territory. Let me whet the appetites there and leave it there. We're maybe going to revisit that. I'm going to give you the opportunity now, please, ultra professional. September 30th, I'm a Jim Lampley fan. If I'm a boxing fan, what should I be doing?
Well, I think this is a new transmission hybrid that is fun for the sport. I think obviously you should be watching the Showtime pay-per-view with a chance to listen to their blow-by-blow and expert commentators. And then I think you should also have your computer screen open and you should be chatting or watching what Lampley and Pugmire have to say about the fight. And you should be watching it with an eye toward, okay, I know Lance, I know how good he is, I know. And I'm talking about Pugmire there. I know that, Lance has interesting things to say. Wonder if Lampley still has anything meaningful to say. Watch it and see. I'm interested to know. I'm interested to know.
I know.
And it's on pay-per-view, ppv.com.
That's it.
So dial into ppv.com and give Jim Lampley and Lance Pugmire at least a slice of your attention that evening.
I've enjoyed this slice, and we'll get another slice come September 30th. Jim, any last words? Anything you want to mention? Where should people follow you if they want more Lampley now?
Woodsy, you are a great friend. And of all the media fraternities in sports, there is none better, warmer, more mutually loving than the boxing fraternity. So I've missed you. I look forward to seeing you face to face, and we'll do that in Las Vegas.
Literal tears coming to my eyes. Nobody wants to see that, so I'm going to end this. Jim Lampley, thank you so much for time. I really, really do appreciate it.
My privilege. Talk to you later.
Peace.